Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So it's Friday the 13th, unlucky for some but hopefully not for me, and you join me packing to go to the epic Strathpuffer 24-hour mountain bike race. For those of you that don't know, it's a mountain bike race. It's set up Scotland, just past Inverness, outside of a small village called Conton, Strathpuffer Forest, and it's been held every year since 2006. It's ranked in the top 10 hardest mountain bike races in the world. It's a 24-hour endurance event, round an 8.5 mile lap course through the forest, 400 meters of climbing per lap. So freezing conditions, 17 hours of darkness. It's been cancelled the last 2 years because of the pandemic. So I've got a little less hair, I'm a little slower, but we're gonna go give it a go as a solo entry this time. Previously I've done it in a pair and as a quad team. I've always used this for training because I'm not a mountain biker, I'm a road rider, but I do enjoy mountain biking. I've always used this for training to break me into the road season, time trial season. However, we're gonna give it a good go and see what happens. So we are in the Peugeot Boxer L3H2. We've got packed up, so this is a mountain bike I will be using. Full suspension, Giant Trans 29er. Now it's not the lightest bike in the world, but it's durable, and this course is super hard on bikes, especially when it will be minus conditions, potential snow and ice. We'll have the ice spiker tyres, Schwalbe, which are made in Germany, and basically the course is pretty much unrideable, certainly for me anyway, if you don't have these and it's hitting like -2, -3 and so on. We have Maxxis tyres, 2.4 sorry, wide, in case we don't get any ice or snow. Quite fast rolling, good grip, I like them. Snow shovel just in case. And we are all good inside. We'll have the diesel heater, TV. My wife and daughter are coming with me to support and feed me, so we're going to see how this goes. So we'll catch up on the journey there. Okay, so that's us parked in the forest at the Strathpuffer with the family. My amazing wife and daughter supporting me and doing the pasta. Bike set up, we're all good to go. And it's just going to be a case of resting tonight till we kick off a race briefing at 9:45 in the morning, and then the race will start at 10 o'clock for 24 hours. And we'll go down to the big tent and see what's available just shortly. So we've been for a walk down to the main event tent, and now it's chilling and relaxing, DVD time and pizza delivery in the middle of a forest. Homemade from the, what is it, the Land Rover oven?
Wood fire Land
Rover oven. Time to relax and ready for the race tomorrow. Morning. Good sleep last night, van was nice and warm. It's 9 AM, race briefs at 9:45, then we kick off. We're full of breakfast. toiletries, and now we're just going to get dressed and warmed up. Ready to go, but you don't need much warming up in a 24-hour race. And let's see what happens.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Woo, woo. Team Speedy. You go.
Come on.
Oh, numeros. Bike ready. Computer ready. Ads ready. Even down there. All good. All good in a hood. Are we good? We hungry? Whoa, they flying! Look at them!
Okay, so what went wrong in the Strathpuffer 24-hour mountain bike race? Well, it was a number of things. So to start off with, I never even should have started the race, but because the race has been cancelled over the last 2 years because of the pandemic, I just wanted to do it. I wanted to get it done. The race actually started on the 14th of 10 AM on the 14th of January, finishing at 10 AM on the 15th of January. Before Christmas, so 2 weeks prior to Christmas, I had a very bad dose of tonsillitis where I had to have penicillin for 2 weeks solid to clear it up. I then seemed to have some very nasty swelling in a place where I shouldn't have had any swelling, which made it quite difficult to sit on the bike, but I kept doing it, kept training. Felt quite uncomfortable, bit painful. Ended up in A&E literally the day before the day before Christmas Eve, and was told I had a urinary tract infection. So on another set of antibiotics lasting almost 2 weeks. Because I was still training, I did the festive 500, which is 500 kilometers from Christmas Eve to New Year's Eve, and I actually ended up doing it quite quickly. Felt okay to do that, just been a little bit uncomfortable. I then seemed to feel quite weak and seemed to be struggling to digest my food properly, meaning I was eating, but for some bizarre reason I didn't feel like I was getting the energy and the nutrients from my food. So I still felt hypoglycemic even after having quite a substantial meal and then going into training, which didn't make any sense at all. Struggled to get into the doctors, found it very difficult to do so, and I thought, right, I'm still going to work, I'm still good enough to get up, walk around, I can still ride the bike. Yes, this isn't ideal. I just don't want to cancel this event because I've been looking forward to it so much, and 3 years running cancellation, I didn't think that was acceptable. And to be brutally honest, I thought if I stay, it was planned for me just to stay in zone 2, not take my heart rate over 155 BPM. I could just ride that out for the 24 hours as long as I maintained fuel, had the right clothing, etc. I was pretty confident I could do that. So when I went into the event, that's exactly what I was doing. And for the first few hours, yeah, I was slower on a lap than what I had been the last time I'd done the race, but I was quite consistent. I was banging out the laps per hour, you know, a lap in an hour. And generally to begin with, I felt pretty good. My energy was good, strength was good. You know, I just kept an eye on my heart rate, and even on the climbs, I was going slow, keeping my heart rate in, and then absolutely caning it on the descents, keeping the heart rate the same regardless of what I was doing. And I knew I could just keep that going. But once I hit about the 6-hour mark, I started to become very uncomfortable. I had exceptional pain in the lower base of my back, moving round into my right testicle, almost feeling like there was an issue with a pipe. That's how it actually felt. I was in excruciating pain to the point of it was unbearable, and I was actually starting to see coloured spots and dots when I was cycling, not because of energy but just because of the pain. I pulled in, got some fuel, had a rest for about 20 minutes and then went back out again into the darkness of 24-hour racing, and it was just so unbearable. I had to come in, I had to lie down, I couldn't stand up straight, and it wasn't because of the effort, it was just because of this excruciating pain. It was just so unbearable. And at that point I was in 36th place, which was actually pretty good considering I was being very conservative with my riding. I was using heavier tyres. Now, it wasn't icy per se, but the temperature was dropping. Up in the high points was bits of ice. I didn't want to take the risk on the rocks. In 2017 I actually cracked my elbow on a rock face because of a very similar thing. It didn't look like it was icy, but then it did start to freeze and only the rock slab faces were frozen, and resulting in me crashing and cracking my elbow back those few years ago. So long story short, I just felt so bad I had to stop, and even though I stopped significantly earlier than planned, i.e. a number of hours before the end of the 24-hour event, I still finished in 76th overall. Now, looking at my stats, my heart rate, power, etc., being able to maintain that, if I'd kept going and never had this pain, there is a potential, and there was a potential I could have banged out between 16 and 18 laps in the 24 hours at the rate I was going at and comfortable with, until this bizarre pain kicked in, which was nothing to do with cycling and training, which would have put me in the top 10, and I would have been super happy with that, and it would have been a good result. So in terms of my fitness, although going into it, it wasn't ideal, because initially I was supposed to go in as a pair team, but unfortunately the guy I was doing it with had he had a situation that was completely unavoidable and had to cancel, which I was well aware of, so I decided to carry on but do it solo. So long story short, once again I ended up back in hospital after the event, and more antibiotics again, blood tests, had an ultrasound, and it turns out there's some deficiencies in my system, and they've probably been there for quite a while, which would explain some of the anomalies I've been having during my normal personal life and while I've been training. So I've been experiencing memory problems, short-term memory issues, exceptional fatigue, very sporadic. One minute I'm like Superman and the next minute I feel highly fatigued. So what the blood test results showed was my D3 is next to non-existent for what you would class as a person that isn't an athletic person. However, because I'm training and I'm an athletic person, that has more of a detrimental effect. Also, my folic acid levels virtually non-existent, which would explain the confusion, the fogginess, the memory issues I've been having. So that would contribute, slurred speech, etc. So that would indicate and explain those situations I have been having an experience in, which I've been very concerned about. Ultrasound, I was told during the ultrasound process that everything seemed to be okay in my gentleman areas, where you know everything was okay, but I actually haven't had the official deciphered results from my doctor yet. So, and that was 2 weeks ago that I had the ultrasound now. So I've came off the specific coaching plan, so I'm no longer being coached at this moment in time. I'm just doing what we call free riding, which means I'm just riding my bike with no specific structure. If I feel good, I'm gonna go hard. If I don't feel good, I'm just gonna go easy, chilled, but I'm gonna try and average at least 5 to 8 hours a week bike riding and amongst family time and working full time. But at the end of the day, if I don't feel like it at this moment in time, I won't ride my bike, but I love it, so I'm gonna try and do it where possible, but only if I feel good enough to do it, because I don't want to overstretch the body. I do have a prescription, I do have medication to try and bring back my levels. We haven't been able to explain why my levels have dropped off, because my diet hasn't changed. Nothing I've been doing's changed. The only difference is, and I don't want to play the COVID card, but the only difference is within myself physically is COVID vaccines and the fact that I had COVID at the end of the pandemic, or once we went back into a more normal way, or way of living before COVID. So I got COVID in July last year, literally as I was going to Portugal to do a cycling training camp. So not ideal, and I think although I felt like physically I recovered quite quick from it, I think I have been left with some issues that have caused me to suffer, but there's no scientific evidence, it's just hearsay. So that's my story as to what happened with the Strathpuffer 24-hour. It's not racing excuses. My stats can be checked out in Strava, so check out speedieclark on Strava. If you want to see what I can do and what I'm capable of, you'll see that, and looking at it scientifically, you'll understand that yeah, I potentially could have had a top 10, but the pain I was experiencing was just phenomenal, and it wasn't bearable, and I've got a very high pain tolerance. So it looks like there has been some issues down below, some infections, etc. But in total, since 2 weeks prior to Christmas right up until now, and we're now in February actually, I've had 6 weeks worth of different antibiotics and medications, which is just crazy and not really that good for you. So I am relaxing in the van just now, self-built camper van. So hoping to get more films uploaded and see how we get on. I will be doing cycling, I will be doing some mountain biking. It's going to be quite sporadic and ad hoc, but I'm going to do enough to maintain a reasonable level of condition, and also to keep the waistline at bay, given that it's now middle age time, where you're bound to get a little bit of a spread and the metabolism changes slightly. So thank you very much for watching. Check out my next up and coming film, which will actually be the walk round of this camper van conversion and what I'm going to change and modify. So once again, thanks for watching, take care, please like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next film. Bye.